Week 3 is in the books, and it is time to get down to waivers for week 4. There are some guys who are absolutely worth spending up for. I'm going to rattle through a bunch of guys in the next 10 minutes to give you the answers that you need when it comes to getting your waivers in. Bucky Irving, 34% rostered on Yahoo Leagues right now, and he is absolutely the number one priority this week. Rachaad White has shown over the course of his NFL career that he is too inefficient to be a workhorse running back. Yes, there's moments where he makes it work, but you go back and look, and this is a guy who's only had a couple of 80-plus yard games over the course of his career. He is not somebody who can reliably and consistently carry the ball in the rushing game. 2.1 yards per carry so far this season, which ranks 33rd among running backs with 25 or more touches. Meanwhile, Bucky Irving, he has 6.2 yards per carry. That ranks second among all running backs with 25 plus touches. Obviously, Bucky Irving isn't going to be able to sustain 6.2 yards per carry. That is an incredible number. And the more touches he gets, the less efficient he'll probably end up being. But today, the Bucs have come out and said that they expect to give Bucky Irving more touches going forward because he's earned it. Since week 1, Bucky Irving's touches and rush share has grown every week from 37% in week 1 up to 56% in week 3. Bucky Irving, I'd be comfortable putting 30 to 40 of my waiver bucks down on Bucky Irving and absolutely using my number one priority on him. We've got another 12 players coming up, but first, I need 5 of you people watching this video to hit that subscribe button as we close in on 3,200 subscribers. We do Dynasty Best Ball Redraft, DFS, we do it all here to help you win. Tyler Conklin at 14% rostered needs to be somebody you pay attention to this week. Hit a career high 93 yards on just 5 receptions last week. Didn't cross 70 yards at all last year, but the difference this year, it's Aaron Rodgers who's playing well. Yes, Aaron Rodgers doesn't look the same Aaron Rodgers MVP level that he was a few years ago, but we don't need him to be. We just need to be serviceable in this offense outside of Alan Lazard, Mike Williams, and Garrett Wilson. There isn't anything else, and we know Tyler Conklin is going to be out there playing a lot of snaps. So Tyler Conklin, if you're struggling at tight end, I love taking shots on Conklin this week. Quentin Johnston, 45% rostered over on Yahoo. Mentioned him last week, talked about how it might be worth picking him up and just taking a look to see if the usage could sustain. Last week, he went out and got 2 touchdowns, equaling how many touchdowns he scored in the entirety of his rookie year. Then he goes out again this weekend, scores another touchdown. We see that Josh Palmer is still banged up and struggling through injuries. DJ Chark's still on IR. Yes, Justin Herbert is having his own injury issues of his own, but the team, they seem to be liking what they're getting out of Quentin Johnston. He leads all wide receivers on the Chargers in route participation, and I'm not expecting that to change anytime soon. Quentin Johnston, he was a first-round talent for a reason, and I think that the Chargers are going to keep trying to make it work. Alexander Mattison, 31% rostered on Yahoo Leagues, and it's just never going to happen for Zamir White. Last year, we saw that he got there completely on volume down the stretch. He was getting an absurd amount of touches, and he made it work, but he couldn't find the end zone. This year, he can't find the end zone again. He's had 37 touches for 118 yards and 0 touchdowns. Meanwhile, Alexander Mattison's had 19 total touches, but he's had 107 yards, almost as many as Zamir White, who's had twice as many. But the difference, Alexander Mattison has 3 touchdowns to Zamir White's 0. Whenever you look at any of the advanced stats here, Alexander Mattison stands out for being more elusive than Zamir White is. And of course, that's the case. Like, go and look at pictures of Zamir White from the offseason. He looks like the size of a horse. He is a massive guy, but he's really struggling to be productive at the weight that he's at. Zamir White hasn't been over 7 PPR points in 3 games. Mattison's getting all the high-value touches around the goal line, in the 2-minute drills, in the passing game. That's what we want. Jauan Jennings, 31% rostered. Matt, I missed so hard on Jauan Jennings this week. It stung me in my high-stakes league. I left him on the bench. In DFS, I did not play him anywhere. And on the Fantasy Pros weekly start-sit show that I do with my co-host Welsh, I said that I didn't want to start Jennings, so I am owning that one. Jennings went out and had a 3-touchdown performance, 40% target share. Look, if this situation in San Francisco changes rapidly, maybe this would be one where Jennings isn't going to be able to sustain a performance. Definitely not to the level of 3 touchdowns and a 40% target share. This is a guy who was almost the Super Bowl MVP. If the Niners won that game, there's a very real chance Jennings would have been the Super Bowl MVP. Now you've got Debo and CMC virtually a lock to miss week 4. George Kittle doesn't sound in a great way, so it seems like Jauan Jennings is going to be out there above any of the rookies that the Niners drafted right now. And look, he's got Brock Purdy's trust. He's got Shanahan's trust. I think he's going to be very productive if he gets another clean run at week 4. Cole Kmet, 40% rostered currently, had a 21% target share this weekend, good for 11 targets, 6 catches, 112 yards. And what worked for the Bears this weekend was when Caleb Williams was getting the ball out quickly. Per next-gen stats, Williams went 19 of 22 on quick throws, but struggled when he was in regular dropbacks. We don't have the data for first read targets yet, but if Kmet was the first read target on a lot of them, then it's wheels up. It shows that the Bears are coming back to him after the failed experiment where they wanted to get Gerald Everett out there because of his relationship with Shane Waldron. I spent the offseason saying I thought that Cole Kmet was overpriced in best ball until he started to drop towards the end. But now we're in redraft season. It's time to throw away all our priors. And I do think that if you can get Cole Kmet, he's going to have plenty of usable weeks. And look, the tight end position is an absolute wasteland. You can't afford to not be taking shots at the position right now. And I'd be happy putting 15 of my waiver bucks down on Cole Kmet. 7 minutes in, but we've still got a good few players left to go. To hit that subscribe button, though, I want to open up this video tomorrow and see that we have hit 3,200 subscribers. New people finding all the fantasy advice they need here on the Fantasy Sanctuary. 36% rostered, it is Samaje Perine. Yes, he is going to be splitting the work with Carson Steele. Yes, the Chiefs did sign Kareem Hunt, but they didn't elevate him from a practice squad. He didn't have an off-season training with anyone, so it suggests that he's probably got a good bit of work to do. Clyde Edwards-Helaire might be back on the active roster from week 5. But Samaje Perine has a real clear path to the high-value touches. We've seen him be used in the third down role, the passing downs role, in pass protection where he really excels. If he gets that, if he's trusted around the goal line, then it's going to be a very similar role to what Jerick McKinnon had that's been so valuable for the Chiefs over the last couple of years. And even with Carson Steele gets some of the between the 20s work, I simply do not care. I'd be looking to take Samaje Perine, but I wouldn't be getting too aggressive with my bids on him. Cam Akers, who's 36% rostered over on Yahoo. Honestly, I thought it would be more than that, given that he had a clean run to be the RB1 on the Texans this weekend. And I think in a lot of very active leagues, yes, he will be rostered. Look, don't come at me. Don't come at me for saying that you could go and pick Cam Akers up, because there are 64% of Yahoo leagues where Cam Akers is sitting out there ready to be bid on in waivers this week. Adam Schefter called Joe Mixon week to week rather than day to day, which suggests that there's a real chance that he might miss this week. Dameon Pierce hasn't done anything to prove he can be the RB2 in Texas. And then when you look at what Akers had yesterday, you saw 70% of the running back opportunities. The game script was completely against him and the Texans. They were absolutely chasing their tail throughout, which meant that they went pass heavy. They were trying to drive the ball downfield. He got there on a nice little touchdown pass, which worked out well for those of us who played him in DFS. But I think against the Jags in week 4, that's going to be a much more positive game script for him, and it should allow him to see a lot more rushing opportunities. If you're hurting at the quarterback position, and there are a lot of quarterbacks who are hurting fantasy teams right now, here's 4 names that we can talk about quickly to perhaps just bring up to your team and just decide whether you want to start them on a week-by-week basis. Daniel Jones is 6% rostered. He's coming off a 70% completion rate against the Cleveland Browns. That's a really good defense. He had a really good day. The last 2 weeks have been pretty solid for Daniel Jones. And maybe it's just possible that in week 1, when he looked awful, he was just recovering from the ACL injury that kept him out of most of the offseason. Drake May, only 3% rostered, and Drake May season, it's coming. It's just a matter of when the Patriots want to pull the trigger. Their early season schedule was always brutal. Things start to get a lot easier, and it wouldn't be a surprise if it's time for Drake May to get out there. This is a guy who is a true dual threat. Just because he's white, just like Daniel Jones, it doesn't mean that you have to start thinking that he doesn't have the wheels, because Drake May, he will absolutely scamper around. He's got a cannon of an arm. The weapons, they are not great in New England. The offensive line is not great in New England. The dual threats, if they're out there rushing 5+ attempts per game, they have a way of finding a way up into quarterback 1 territory. If you're scraping the barrel Andy Dalton, 4% rostered. He looked really good for the Panthers, easily better than anything we've ever seen from Bryce Young over the last couple of years, which is an incredibly sad sentence. But Andy Dalton, he had the offense just humming, and he's working with Dave Canales, the Panthers head coach, who over the last 2 years had Geno Smith looking incredible, and then had Baker Mayfield looking incredible. If Dave Canales is the veteran quarterback whisperer, then Andy Dalton could be set for a big year. And lastly, this one's probably even more of a super flex consideration than anything else. But Tyler Huntley, the Dolphins, they rolled out Skylar Thompson. He got injured. Then the backup got injured, Tim Boyle. And Tyler Huntley, the Dolphins, they signed him to the active roster. He's not on the practice squad. They wanted him. And I think that he, with a bit of dual threat ability, as well as the dink and dunk nature that Tyler Huntley has, he could be really good in Mike McDaniel's offense. Those are your waivers to get you set for week 4. Hit the subscribe button. We will be back for our weekly preview show on Thursday. We will also be taking all your start-sit questions live at 4 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. UK. I've got my DFS videos coming through the week. Rich has got his Dynasty buys and sells videos, and Tyler will be back in the Underdog Battle Royale streets, as well as helping you with start-sit decisions on Sunday.